want to do them anymore. You know, and it started to feel like a money grab. Right. I didn't like that, and so I hadn't done one for a while, and I had done one recently, and I remembered why I didn't do them anymore. Right? But the one we're doing in Scotland's a lot different. You know, it's not just us going to go up, play a set and sell T-shirts. You know, it's to save the children. We're going to raise money for a good cause. We're going to have a great chef there. They have a theater, so we got great clips of David, of some that haven't been seen before. Play my movie, the sideband movie we played in there. You know, besides the chef, and also we'll interact with the crowd. We'll be at a dinner table with them. They'll be able to ask us questions and hang out. And there's other things to do at the resort, because it's interesting for me once they get past the fan part, and you know, you just talk about life, you know, talk about my dog. I'll talk about my dog all day, you know what I mean? And then you get to see who they are, and they get to see who you are, because you don't know. They're a fan, obviously. They love David Bowie. They're there, but there's more to them than that, and that interests me a lot. And I think vice versa. You know.
And the guitar auction as well, and I'd imagine there's
the guitar auction.
A bit of work to be done. We've got a beautiful guitar here. We'll hear more about it in a second. And that's Frampton's, is it? Yeah, that's a Gibson Les Paul, beautiful. But do you put the call in yourself? Do you chase your friends' music to ask for a guitar?
Either I chase them or I find somebody who can chase them. We find them.
How does that conversation go?
It goes easy. Yeah. I've known Pete. I opened up for Pete. I had this horrible band in the 80s. I hated this band, but they put us on a slot opening for Pete in 1981. I think we did about a dozen shows, and he treated us really nice, because, you know, opening acts don't usually get treated all that well. Sometimes, you know, you're like, you know, yeah. And first of all, the pay stinks, you know, but that's not why you do them. But Pete was great. He made sure we got sound checks. Sometimes they won't even give you a sound check, and we got real food.
Real food?
Real food, yeah.
You get that in Scotland?
No, we didn't get, you know, we didn't get different, like, multicolored pieces of meat that shouldn't have been that color. Yeah, like a deli tray, as we call it in the States.
Yeah. So we've got a few good ones so far. You've got Frampton, you've got Duff McKagan, I believe. Yeah. Any others you can drop a hint for?
Not yet. I'm not saying anything that I cannot confirm.
Okay, good man. That's very responsible.
Oh, wait a minute. We do.
Hold on.
Steve?
Oh, Glenn Matlock.
Very good.
Kathy Valentine from the Go-Go's.
Steve,
who?
Look at that. Steve. Look at that. Steve.
Oh, look, Steve, look at her.
There will be more announced in due course. No, we don't need the list.
I was going to say something, I'll let that one go.
We don't need the definitive list.
I love Luke because, as guitar players, I mean, I'm the worst session player on the planet. I can't read music. I cannot take direction. That ain't gonna happen. But Luke can do any kind of music. A lot of session players, you can tell they're faking it. Yeah. If he does a blues thing, it sounds for real. If he does a pop, he's so good at it. And I'm proud to have him on board, because I look at him as far as a session player goes, he's #1 man. So, and Pete Frampton, I mean, we got some really good people, and we're working on a few other ones as we go along.
In terms of rehearsal, have you got much time together with the band before you perform in Scotland later this year?
Meaning, are we rehearsing?
Are you getting together? Yeah.
Of course we are.
Where, you do it in Scotland, or you get together before?
No, we'll do it in Scotland. It's easier, yeah. A matter of fact, we've got a rough idea of a set list. The way I want to do the set list too, I want it to be upbeat. Yep. and like fun songs and happy songs, you know, because obviously there's periods of time where we've got experimental. That's all well and good, but you know what? I want it to be an uplifting, happy show. It's for kids. It's to raise money. I just want people to walk away feeling with a smile on their face, instead of us doing rock and roll suicide, which everybody wants to go and kill themselves after the song's over. You know, it's going to be a fun upbeat.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. And just to finish, because it will be live streamed, so Bowie fans will be able to watch us all around the world. For those who can't be there, what can they expect?
That can't be at the gig?
Yeah.
The management guys, that's their thing. My business is to make sure that the band is together, the right singers, we're rehearsed, and we kick ass. That's my job.
What a mission statement, Earl Slick. Ladies and gentlemen, the main man, Earl. Fantastic. You're done. You're done. We'll see you in November. Earl Slick, ladies and gentlemen. What a man. It's absolutely roasting him. Right, we should do a little introduction now to the great people here at Regent Sound. So much history I mentioned, and I won't butcher it. I'll ask Crispin to come up, please. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Crispin from Regent Sound to tell us a little bit about this place. Go on. Now, Crispin, I mentioned some bands, some famous bands, some of the history in this room. The building has a warm ghost.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting that obviously we talked about David here, David Bowie doing stuff here early on. Not a lot of people know that he recorded in this room with the Conrads, he recorded in this room with the Lower Third, and he did solo stuff in here really early on, really just Davy Jones demos. I'm currently co-writing the book on this place, which is fascinating. We're revealing more and more stuff all the time, so watch out for that when it happens. So I just wanted to tie in a little bit about, obviously, also Mick Ronson in this room, actually. A lot of people don't know how much Ronno did here. He did stuff with Mott the Hoople, he did stuff on Michael Chapman's Fully Qualified Survivor demos in here and everything. A lot of recordings in this room. What I wanted to touch on was obviously, we're doing this in partnership with Earl, and we really are talking largely about the auction because there's so many special guitars involved. And we're quite honoured, really, to have several guitars will be actually on display here before the auction. This one to start with, Frampton's Les Paul Custom, which is signed by him, which is a pretty special guitar. By all accounts, sounds pretty amazing. This will be on display here along with a different one a month right up for the rest of this year until the auction. So anytime anyone wants to pop in, come and have a look at some of the special guitars that will be in the auction. You can see them here one or two at a time. Yeah, I don't know really. Lastly, it's great. You know, this is the first event we've done for a long time, and you know, we hadn't cleaned the air conditioning machine clearly, but we will do that. So next time, you know, when you're all here, it'll be a little bit cooler. But we got a load of other things coming up. But do drop in, see the guitars, and you know, obviously, I hope you all go to the auction. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Crispin. Top man, top man. Right, okay, we've got another very special treat for you this evening. Now, I think we're all familiar with an incredibly famous picture. There are some great photographers here this evening. But I want to talk a little bit about Brian Duffy in particular and that incredible lightning bolt portrait. It's so famous, isn't it? And some of the stories I heard before I came in this evening about that picture in particular were amazing. So his son is here. You might be familiar with the book he's written, which is incredible. Duffy Bowie, 5 sessions. If you haven't read it, highly recommend it. So Chris Duffy, if you'd like to come up and have a quick conversation about that, it'd be great. Chris Duffy, ladies and gentlemen. Chris, first of all, can I just ask you to share that story? Because I think everyone's familiar with the eyes closed picture, but the eyes open picture has a bit of a story behind it too.
Well, the Aladdin Sane image on the album cover was the only image that anyone had ever seen for 43 years. And Kevin Can, David's biographer, was doing a book, I think 2011, and he called me up and he said, I'm doing this book and it ends in 73 with Aladdin Sane. Can I come and see you? Have you got any other images? And I said, yeah, we've got all the transparencies. So Kevin came up to the studio and I pulled out the transparencies on the light box and his eyes came out on organ stops. He was like, my God, you've got other pictures, you've got eyes open. And he said, can I use that for the book, or this section of the book? And I said, well, if David's okay with it, sure. So we called David up and he was happy with it, and that came into being. And as I told you earlier, then the V&A David Bowie Is exhibition took off, and Jeff Marsh and Vicky Brokes approached me and they said they wanted to use that eyes open image. Can we have a high res? So I scanned it, did a high res. And I had this thought, the moment I put it on WeTransfer and I went send, I went, that is going out to the world. No one's ever seen this image before and it's just going to go viral. And it was just such a weird sensation pressing that send, and I went, it's gone, that's it. You could probably put
a figure on how many people had seen that at that point, a handful.
Yeah, well, when the exhibition went around the world and it went to 11 venues, 11 countries, our web stats went through the roof. I think, obviously everyone knows David Bowie, they knew Aladdin Sane, but they didn't know, the majority of people didn't know who Duffy was. So when it went to Australia or any venue that it went with big posters and on walls, it said, because of course that was part of our agreement, that had to have a credit, photo Duffy, copyright Duffy Archive and the David Bowie Archive. And of course people Googled who's Duffy, so our stats went just crazy. But yeah, I mean, I called it years ago, not The Eyes Open, the classic image, I called it the Mona Lisa of pop. And it got picked up, and if you Google that now, it comes up. So, but yeah, no, I'm very privileged to look after my father's work, and ostensibly he wasn't really known as a rock photographer or music photographer. I mean, he did shoot people, Black Sabbath, Blondie, but primarily he was a fashion photographer, and also a great award-winning advertising photographer. But he happened to end up taking probably what is a cultural icon. And so in some ways he's been typecast as that, but there's so much other material that he shot.
Do you have any personal recollections of having a front row seat for some rock and roll history? Did you ever see anything or share anything you could tell us about from that time yourself as Duffy's son?
Well, in regards to David, I was at home, I was 17, I was about to leave home. But on a Sunday, Duffy used to, I mean, when we had Sundays before, we ended up in this mad 24-hour world, Duffy used to get records sent from record companies. And on a Sunday, he used to love, in the front room, playing his music really loud. And one Sunday, I came down the stairs and this music was blasting out. And I was like, wow, that's cool, what's that? So I went in the front room and I said, who you playing? He said, oh, it's a guy called David Bowie. And I said, yeah, wow, that's Rono was doing some Moon Age Daydream, you know, that solos. And I said, can I borrow the record? He said, yeah, as long as you don't scratch it. And he said, yeah, I'm doing his new album cover. Do you want to meet him? And I said, yeah. So he said, be down at Matrix Studio, sorry, not Matrix, Trident Studios, at 7 o'clock on Tuesday. So I got there on the dot at 7 o'clock, I rang the bell, and a tape op behind the desk came out, opened the door, and I said, I've come to meet Duffy. And he said, oh, they're in there. So I went up to the door and knocked on the door opened, and David opened it. And he looked me up and down, and he said, who are you? And I said, Chris, Duffy's son. He said, you're Duffy's son? I said, yeah. He said, your father is a lunatic. Come in. So I came in and said, sit down. There was a big sofa there. Ken Scott was on the desk, and down behind the glass in the studio, Mick Ronson had a pair of head cans on and the gold Les Paul Deluxe, and he was doing the overdubs for Let's Spend the Night Together. And of course, in that analog period, when you were doing another take, the tape would rewind. Let's do that again. And go, whoop, 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 which of course you don't get today because everything's digital. And every time I hear that record, I'm like straight back in the studio. It's just ingrained in my mind.
So Chris, what can we expect at Cameron House then from the Duffy Archive?
Well, oh God, I'm so excited by watching all of this. I mean, the venue looks amazing. It's such a good cause. Iconic guitarist. We've got Earl Slick, you can listen to all night. Kevin Armstrong's also here, another Bowie guitarist. And not only that, we're in a guitar shop. I'm just like the dreams I'm going to have tonight. Just stop from buying stuff. But yeah, no, we're bringing the all Duffy's material, the 5 sessions. Duffy shot Ziggy, Aladdin Sane, Thin White Duke with David in White Sands when he was shooting the film The Man Who Fell to Earth, then the Lodger session, and then finally the Scary Monster session, which actually came full circle because Duffy had given up photography at that point, and David called Duffy and said, will you do this album cover? And Duffy said, okay, all right. I'd worked for Duffy as an assistant, but I'd left and I'd sort of branched out on my own photographic career, and I was kind of shooting people like Adam Ant, Spandau Ballet, Sade, all that, Steve Strange, all that kind of 80s mob. And Duffy said, David wants me to shoot another album cover. I don't have a studio. Can I rent your studio? Will you assist me? So we shot Scary Monsters at my studio, and then David said, I need some press shots. And Duffy said, well, Chris is a photographer. He'll take some pictures. So I got an amazing opportunity to shoot David as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And there'll be some of that at Cameron House?
Yeah, that will all be there. Yeah, all 5 sessions. And there's some big, that's one of the pictures I shot of David. And that session actually started off with David in this really amazing Pierrot makeup that a fantastic makeup artist called Richard Shara did.
Yeah.
And then halfway through the session, it just all got dishevelled and pulled off. So you get kind of 2 complete different looks within one session. But they'll all be up there, and some pictures behind the scenes in the dressing room. And there's a wonderful one with David and a Scotty dog. So yeah, that will all be up there. And it's the first time this material will have gone to Scotland. So we're very excited.
Very grateful for that as well, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Duffy, thank you so much. And we can now say officially, Chris Duffy, your father was a lunatic. What a great thing to put on the CV. Right, thank you, Chris. Right, time to meet some very important people from Save the Children and also from the hotel. And as I mentioned, if you haven't been to Cameron House, it's a great venue. It's had an interesting 10 years or so, back to its resplendent glory. I had a little chat with the executive director earlier on, or managing director. He calls himself the head waiter. So if you'd like to bring up to the stage Will Oakley, managing director of Cameron House. Up you come, Will. Up you come. And from Save the Children, we never forget his name, George Graham. Nothing to do with football, everything to do with charity. George, thanks for coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, George and Will. Good to see you, boys. First of all, Save the Children, there's a massive history, isn't there, with David Bowie? I wasn't entirely familiar with it, but a lot of money has been raised over the years through David's philanthropic work.
Yeah, exactly. And before I answer that, I just want to say how slightly overwhelming it is to be in this incredible venue and to be part of this amazing event about an amazing guy. And I had the privilege of talking to Earl earlier, and he was talking about David, and he was talking about David's not just him as a rock star or him as a personality, but also the fact his humaneness, right? He really cared about the world he lived in, and he wanted to contribute to it. And one of the ways he did that, one of the expressions of that, was supporting Save the Children, which he did throughout his life. And we heard earlier, for his 50th birthday, he did a big gig at Madison Square Garden raising money for Save the Children. So this was part of what he was about. And I think it's probably telling that it was children he was interested in. He wanted the future, and he wanted the innocence of childhood to be something that's protected, and I think that's pretty special.
Yeah, and that's what this weekend's all about, is raising money for Save the Children.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I've worked for Save the Children for many, many, many years now. I'm now responsible for Save the Children UK's international work around the world. So, like for me, I've already said how privileged I feel to be here. It's kind of super special because this is what I'm about, and it's what David was about, and it's what all these people who are going to go to this gig are going to be also a bit about, and that's really, really inspiring for me.
Great stuff. Well, I could wang on about how brilliant it is for ages, right? But you work there. It's a special place, isn't it, Cameron House?
Absolutely, and as you say, hosting this weekend of celebration of music and David with the band and with all that's going on, it's a huge honour for us to host it. I know there's going to be a very, very warm Scottish welcome, of course. I haven't got a Scottish accent myself yet, but I know that for those of you who have visited Scotland, you will know that the hospitality is genuine, it is warm, and I can assure you that the beds will be well made, you'll be well fed, and I will be there to fill your glasses. So we're very much looking forward to seeing everyone.
And you're covering a lot of ground, right? Black tie dinner, there's a theatre there as well, which will be showing off some of that Madison Square Garden gig that we talked about. So a lot of ground for you guys to cover that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the entire resort will be taken over for the weekend by this event. And even for those who aren't coming in to participate in the evening, they will still be able to come into the gallery and go and see the films and participate in a different way. And of course, it's all, really in aid of Save the Children, which is, just such an important charity.
And it preserves that long connection with Scotland, with David Bowie's first gig, I think, was in Dundee. Did you know that? There you go, We'll claim everything is Scottish, that's what we'll do. And well, for anybody who can't be there, though, what would you say to them to welcome them along to the live stream and give them a sense of Cameron House from somewhere around the world?
Come prepared for an awesome weekend. And, You know, I'm not just saying this. I think extend it. Come and see Scotland in its all its glory. I know we talk about the weather there, but it does change every 10 minutes. I can tell you, on Easter Sunday we had snow, hail, rain, and sunshine. And even in November, we're bound to have a little bit of good sky. So, you know, it's going to be an awesome weekend.
As Billy Connolly says, no such thing as the bad weather, just the wrong clothing. That's what we say. Well, and a final thought from Save the Children as well. It's such an important weekend and continues that fine tradition that David Bowie had with the charity. How much does it mean for you to keep that going?
It's super, super special. Like, what we're all about is, obviously the name is Save the Children, we're about helping children survive, but we're also about helping them thrive, about making sure they get an education, about making sure they stay safe. So this is such a special weekend. I want to say a really big thank you to Cameron House. They've already made a £50,000 contribution, which is amazing. And this event is going to raise even more. It's going to make a massive difference. So I just want to say a huge thank you, obviously from Save the Children, but also from the kids and from the families that we work with around the world.
Incredible, £50,000. Well, that's brilliant. What a generous donation.
Well, that's just a start.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for George Graham and Will Oakley. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, boss. Thanks, boss. Thank you. I think that sums things up this evening. What an amazing donation to start things off, by the way. £50,000, incredible, from Cameron House. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It's absolutely roasting in here, so we can all get off and drink some more. A huge thank you to Earl Slick, ladies and gentlemen, to Camille O'Sullivan, to the guys from Cameron House, to Save the Children, to the boys working, making sure the music works. Thank you. If you enjoyed tonight, I'm Gordon Smart. If you didn't, I'm Chris Moyles. I'll see you all soon.
Oh, yeah, there's only so much you can buy. Your card? I'm going to do some shots here, some setup shots. You can't. Earl, we're going to do something here when all these are cleared off to the after party, which is just down the road. We're going to do some shots here.